Welcome to Becoming Limitless. This is the podcast for entrepreneurs who want to optimize their brain and their body with biohacking. I'm going to teach you how to eliminate brain fog and upgrade your health so you can have more productivity, energy, and growth in your business. I'm your host, Tanessa Shears. Let's jump in. Welcome back to the Becoming Limitless podcast. Okay, so today's episode was inspired because I put a poll out on my Instagram stories and I said, okay, of these episode title ideas, what would you want to learn about? And I've got to say, this episode topic blew the other episodes out of the water. So I'm recording it and I'm excited to release because I know it's something that you guys obviously want. We're talking about how to get out of bed in the morning. All right, because Here's why I put this out as a topic. I know for a fact as an entrepreneur, my ability to run my business effectively and efficiently depends on how I feel when I get out of bed in the morning. So I really want you to think about this. Does this sound familiar to you when you wake up in the morning? Do you ever feel like you've been hit by a truck mentally? Do you ever feel really groggy and that feeling sometimes persists for a couple hours and you just can't shake it? It feels like you can't get your brain going in the beginning of the day. Or does it ever feel like you can't concentrate on whatever you're doing in the morning, that you're really easily distracted? Or do you just wake up feeling really tired and maybe thinking feels really challenging? If this sounds like you are going to love this episode because, I find for me, when I show up to my business feeling like any of these things I just described, it takes me longer to do anything. And I find that I'm procrastinating a lot more. Decisions that I need to make, they take longer and they feel overwhelming or hard, and I feel like I just never have enough information and I take so long to make them. My problem solving skills are poor. Oh, when I wake up tired, I can tell you this, I get a little cranky and a little irritable, and I know I'm not the only one that feels like that. And it's just that lack of focus. Like, I find myself on Instagram or Facebook more often than I'd like when I'm supposed to be doing focused work. I'm not as creative. I feel like I have this brain block, stuff doesn't get done. And I think the worst part about that is when you get to the end of the day and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't get anything done and it has to go on to tomorrow, but tomorrow's already scheduled and full. Like, where's it going to go? And it just piles up and like, oh my gosh, if only I woke up feeling well rested. For me, the goal when I open my eyes in the morning, there are 3 things that I aim for. I want to feel energized. I want to feel really well rested, and I want to feel calm, not anxious. I want to start my day feeling like I'm just ready to go. So if this all sounds delicious and you would love to learn how to get out of bed in the morning feeling energized, well rested, and calm instead of everything we just talked about, this episode's for you. We are going to be covering 6 problems that might be making it way harder than it needs to be to wake up in the morning. These are all going to be simple things you could try so you could start waking up feeling much more well-rested. Now, before we jump into the episode, I want to encourage you that if you haven't followed me on Instagram, I'm at Tanessa Shears. Link is in the show notes. Please come and say hi. And I would love for you to reach out and let me know that you came over from the podcast. Or if you're listening to this episode right now, screenshot it, put in your stories and tag me. I always love to see who's listening, and don't feel shy if you want to come and say hi. I love meeting my community and having conversations. So if you're on Instagram today, come say hi, come hang out in my world. I would love to talk to you about everything that you learned today and nerd out about it together. So come say hi. Don't be shy. I love hearing from you guys. So I do want to say though, I do wake up feeling really good a lot of the time, but it didn't always used to feel that way. And I just want to say that there is so much possibility for room for improvement for you if you find that you're not feeling great right now. And it feels like a crazy goal to even think about waking up well rested, because I really didn't used to feel like this all the time. Like, I remember before I really got and solved these 6 problems we're going to talk about, I remember waking up for the gym at 6:15 a.m. in the morning in the pitch dark of winter and feeling dread at the idea of going to the gym. I remember fighting with myself, get out of bed. No, stay. Hit the snooze. No, get up. No, it's time to get up. You need to do this. I don't want to do this. Oh my gosh, that fight in my head every morning was exhausting, and I would feel tired all the way to the gym, and I'd feel like my eyes were glued shut and I just couldn't snap out of it. And I remember showing up to those gym sessions. And even on the days I wasn't at the gym, just groggy and low energy, and I just wanted to sleep in. And honestly, it made working out not nearly as fun as it is now. And I remember that. And over the time, as I really got into, my training as a sleep consultant, and I really got into understanding biohacking. Over time, I have implemented every single one of these 6 hacks we're going to go through. And honestly, now at least 90% of the days, I wake up really energized and I feel ready to start the day. And I got to tell you, I am 7 weeks postpartum right now, and there is a tiny baby waking me up 1 to 2 times a night right now. And still, I feel pretty dang good most days. And it is because I fiercely protect the sleep I am getting. So even if there are disruptions, you can take such good care of the sleep that you are getting. And I promise that you will make progress. The goal is not perfection. Like, I'm a human, you're a human. I don't wake up every day feeling like fully ramped up and ready to go. And it's normal to be a human and stay up late sometimes. Maybe you go to a concert, watch a movie, hang out with friends, right? These are all normal parts of being a human. But I gotta tell you, in my opinion, if you're waking up feeling like tired and groggy and like you can't snap out of it more than 1 to 2 mornings per week, I think it's time to consider picking one of these problems that we're going to talk about if you identify yourself in it, and change it for a week and evaluate. Is it working? Is it not working? And not only are we waking up feeling more well-rested, I want you to really look into, is this affecting my business? Like, do I feel clearer? Do I enjoy showing up to my work more? Does it feel more fun? Do I feel more creative? I really want you to look at how this affects your life just beyond the feeling when you wake up in the morning. Are you a better parent? Are you friendlier? All of the things. All right. So let's jump in to the 6 problems you might be encountering if you're having trouble getting out of bed in the morning. Problem number 1. Are you using an alarm clock to wake up? Why is this a problem? Because it interrupts sleep. So here's what I find really fascinating. Humans are one of the only species that artificially terminate sleep with an alarm clock. Now I get it. If we need to get up early, get kids to school, get to work, start our business, all of that kind of stuff, it does make sense. But I'm going to give you some other solutions as well to each of these problems so that if one solution doesn't work, hopefully one of the other ones I have will suffice. So why is waking up with an alarm clock a problem in the first place? Well, it's usually quite jarring, especially if it is loud and if it is an audible sound. That cortisol release that you get from the fight or flight you are sent into is not a fun way to wake up. I think I've told this story on Instagram before, but somehow my Instagram alarm got set to the song Temperature, Sean Paul. If you know what I'm talking about, you'll know how jarring that would be to wake up to. And it was literally like, oh my gosh, what is that? The cortisol release that you get from being woken up out of sleep like that is not the greatest way to start the day. And the problem is it creates something called sleep inertia. Sleep inertia is that like groggy get hit by a truck feeling that you feel when you get out of bed in the morning. And what it does is it stops the part of our brain from working that actually controls things like memory and planning and decision making and your concentration, thinking, decision making. So, basically I just summed up our ability to run a business, right? So when we experience that sleep inertia, we're not able to perform properly. So when we're looking at what actually causes sleep inertia, it's by waking up in one of the phases of sleep that are not light sleep. So when we wake up from light sleep, it's one of the phases, generally we'll feel all right. Our brains are pretty clear, I'm doing all right, we're pretty good. Now, when you wake up from REM sleep, that's when you're dreaming, you might find you have mild, moderate sleep inertia. So it might take you 30 minutes to an hour to snap out of it and start feeling clear again. But if you are woken up in the middle of a deep sleep phase of the cycle, you will find that depending on your genetic chronotype, which means how your body follows the clock and what time you go to bed and wake up, it actually can take up to 4 hours to shake off this grogginess. Now, if you're waking up at 6:30 in the morning, I know for me, I can't afford my business to have 4 hours to catch up and get rid of this sleep inertia. So why does an alarm clock cause this? Well, the alarm clock does not care what phase of sleep you are in when it wakes you up. It doesn't care whether it's REM and you're dreaming, or if it's deep sleep, or if it's light sleep. If it is 6:30 you want to wake up at, that's when the alarm clock is going off. Now, the body will never, well, I shouldn't say never. The body doesn't usually wake us up in the middle of deep sleep or the middle of dream sleep. It'll get us to light sleep and then wake up. So if we are able to train our body to wake up at a consistent time without using an alarm clock, it will solve this problem and you will wake up feeling so much better. I would honestly say out of all the problems we're going to go through, this would be either top 1 or top 2. So what do? You do a circadian rhythm reset. And a circadian rhythm reset basically means you're resetting your body's clock so that it runs back on a schedule. Essentially, you're going to go to sleep and wake up within a 30 to 60 minute window as often as humanly possible. So for me, I am sleeping between 8:30 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. every night. Honestly, it's probably closer to 8:30 to 9 p.m. That window is very small for me. And I have done this so consistently over such a great period of time now that I wake up within a 15-minute window without an alarm clock. And it's been like this for, a couple of years. And so because of that, I don't wake up feeling groggy very often anymore because my body wakes me up. Now, having said this, if you're doing this reset for the first time, I would commit to going to bed and waking up at approximately the same time for 2 weeks before you start evaluating. And I do think it is important that you set an alarm clock, especially if you have to be up for a certain deadline or reason. Set an alarm clock for yourself so you don't have to worry about possibly missing your time that you want to wake up at. Now, what you'll find over time is that the more consistent you are, the less likely you're going to need that alarm clock. It's kind of like when you wake up like 2 minutes before your alarm clock goes off all the time. That's your circadian rhythm. So if you are like, no, I need the alarm clock and it's just not possible to go to bed and wake up at the same time all the time, here are some things you can do. So you can use something called a sunlight alarm clock. So basically what it is it's a kind of an alarm clock that is a light that gets brighter the closer to your wake up time. So maybe 20 minutes before your wake up time, the light turns on super dim and it slowly gets brighter. So the whole thing is it's trying to simulate sunrise, right? So this is a sunlight alarm, and this is a much less jarring, more natural way to wake up in the morning. But if you are like me and many of the people I talk to, if you are sensitive to light, I'm awake the second any light goes on in my room. So even the super dim light. So I find that I have a sunlight alarm, but for me, I'm too sensitive to light for it to work. So other things I have used before is something called a haptic alarm. So I know built into my Fitbit, I can set an alarm, and what actually happens is my Fitbit vibrates to wake me up. I am a light sleeper. This is wonderful because it is super gentle. It is not very jarring. It lightly pulls me out of sleep. And I find that if I have to set an alarm, the haptic alarm on my Fitbit is a good way to go. Now, if you are looking for a podcast episode to dive in deep on this topic, I would recommend checking out episode 2. It's called Wake Up Feeling Well Rested Without an Alarm Clock. I am going to recommend a bunch of podcast episodes to go deeper on these topics. So they will be in the show notes. So don't feel like you have to write them down. I will put them all there for you. Okay, problem number 2. You might not be getting enough sleep if you're having trouble getting out of bed in the morning. So here's the question you ask yourself. If you did not set an alarm clock in the morning, would you keep sleeping past when you want to get up or need to get up? So like if you need to get up at 6:30 but you didn't set an alarm, would you sleep till 7:30? If the answer is yes, you likely need more sleep than you're giving yourself, right? So if you're giving yourself 7 hours to sleep, maybe you really need 8. And I find after working with so many clients that everyone has a different point at which they feel well rested. Like I'm working with a client right now and it's just around 8 hours to 8:15 that she feels best. But I find for me, I'm well optimized around 7:45, 8 o'clock, 8 hours. So it's going to be about testing and seeing. But beyond that, I think what is really important to talk about is this idea of making sure we go to bed on time. Yeah, I know it's one of those things that we definitely struggle with because there are so many distractions that happen in the evening. And, maybe that's your me time and you're just getting to unwind. But honestly, if there was one single change that I could ask you to make for your health that would make the difference is go to bed on time as consistently as possible. It is amazing what will change. In fact, I actually did a masterclass not too long ago called How to Go to Bed on Time. So why don't we do this? If you want me to send you a YouTube link directly to that free training so that you can listen in, why don't you head over to Instagram, message me, and message me the word bed, and I'll send it to you for free. That way we can, I can talk to you, can ask you some questions, and I can direct you to some other fun resources as well. So head over to my IG, message me the word bed and I'll make sure you get that masterclass because it is a full one on how to go to bed on time and it's really good. The other thing we want to consider is if you think you're getting enough sleep, so you're like, I'm getting 7 hours, I don't get it, or I'm getting 8 hours, there's a concept which is really important to know, and it's the difference between sleep opportunity versus time asleep. Now, sleep opportunity is the amount of time you spend in bed. So if you're in bed at 9 and you're up at 6, that's 9 hours in bed. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're spending 9 hours asleep because it takes our brain time to fall asleep. We toss and turn, we might be up in the middle of the night, we might wake up before we want to get out of bed. All of this time adds up, and after reviewing the Fitbit and Oura Ring data for many, many clients over the years, I can tell you the average entrepreneur spends about an hour to an hour 15 minutes awake every single night. So if you are giving yourself 7 hours and you're awake for an hour to hour 15, you are likely actually sleep deprived if you're only getting like 6 hours, 45 minutes of sleep. So if you're not getting enough sleep, perhaps you need to expand the amount of time you spend in bed. Give yourself more sleep opportunity, because if you are undersleeping, you will carry a sleep debt. So if you need 7 hours of sleep and you're only getting 6, you're carrying with you an hour of sleep debt. And the more sleep debt you accumulate throughout the week, the worse you're going to feel. So if you're having trouble getting out of bed in the morning, it might be a really good indicator that you're just not getting enough sleep. Problem number 3, the bad habit of hitting snooze. So I find that with the snooze button, like I've personally never been someone who's ever hit the snooze, but I have a lot of clients who are, and I can relate, and there's a lot of people who do hit the snooze button. But what I find really interesting is when we hit the snooze button, we fall back asleep, right? But we fall just enough sleep to maybe 10, 20 minutes, just enough to start getting into a proper sleep cycle. And if you enter dream sleep, that's REM sleep, or deep sleep, what's going to happen is when your alarm goes off again to wake you up, it is going to jolt you out of that, and you're experiencing that sleep inertia from problem number 1 we're talking about. So you're giving yourself like a double hit of sleep inertia, meaning you're waking up, you feel groggy, hit snooze, fall back asleep, get into deeper REM sleep, wake yourself up out of that, and you're like, oh my gosh, why am I feeling so groggy? And the other thing, I think the reason I personally have decided never to hit the snooze button is because I always feel like I'm just trading quality sleep for surface sleeping. Like if I ultimately want to get up at 6:30 in the morning and I set my alarm for 6 with the intention to hit the snooze, I could miss out on half an hour of really good quality sleep. I would just rather set my alarm for the time I actually want to get out of bed and then work on the discipline to get myself out of bed. Because one of the things I think that creates long-term success, and I've seen it with my clients and I know it with myself, one of the things that creates long-term success is learning how to keep your internal agreements. And what that means is when you say you're going to do something, you honor your word and do it so that you build that rapport and trust with yourself so that when you set goals, you just know you're the type of person who's going to hit them, right? But I find that hitting the snooze button is a tricky way of breaking that commitment with yourself. So if you really want to work on your discipline or your consistency and develop that as a character trait, what I actually might recommend is using your alarm clock as your first opportunity to practice keeping your very first commitment of the day with yourself and not setting the tone for the day of, I said I was going to get up or I wanted to get up at this time and now I didn't. So try just getting up. And one of the interesting other solutions that you can do is I know Mel Robbins teaches this 5-second rule strategy, and I'm just going to sum it up really quick. Your alarm clock goes off, you turn off the sound, you count down from 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you get out of bed. Right? So you give yourself 5 seconds and then you just get up and do it. And I find that really helps sometimes with motivation and just getting your brain in gear and being like, yes, let's do it. I've done that with many things before, including getting off the couch at the end of the night, starting my workout, all the things. It's a really interesting little hack to try. Last thing is if you're having trouble getting out of bed and hitting the snooze, maybe you need to put something in your morning to actually look forward to, right? Like I love a good cup of coffee. I love the feeling of the morning, the quietness. I love just the whole vibe of morning. The sun's coming up. There's a crispness to the air. I love it. That's what I look forward to. So maybe it's looking What do you enjoy doing in the morning? Do you like to write? Do you like to go for a run? Do you like to, sit outside and breathe in the fresh air? Is it your cup of coffee you look forward to? By giving yourself something that you look forward to, it'll give you a reason not to hit the snooze. Let's jump into problem number 4. Problem number 4 is not getting enough deep or REM sleep. So those are 2 different phases our brains go through while we sleep. So basically, we can think of it like this. Not getting enough physical or mental recovery while you sleep will make it very difficult to get out of bed in the morning. What is the solution for this? It's to get enough sleep. That is number 1. If you are not getting enough duration of sleep, if you're not hitting at least that 7 to 9 hours a night, is going to make it really tricky to get enough of the quality sleep. Like I have a couple episodes that I'm going to share with you in just a sec that you can go if you want to do a deep dive. But on average, we should be spending 15 to 20% of the time we're asleep in deep quality sleep, and 20 to 25% of the time while we're dreaming, right? That is a baseline. And we just can't achieve that if we're shorting ourselves on the duration. So number 1, we need to get enough sleep. Number 2 is going back to that consistent sleep-wake time. Now, here's something interesting. Most of our deep sleep, and that's what gives us that physical restoration. Body recovers from workouts. Our brain physically recovers from the thinking and processing and decision-making of the day. While we are in deep sleep, most of it is happening in the earlier hours of the night. I want you to think 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 a.m., all right? So if you go to bed 2 hours later, you're not just missing 2 hours of sleep and making it up later. You could be cutting out up to 60% of your deep sleep. And since it happens early in the night, sleeping in is not going to help you make that up. So if you're constantly feeling physically exhausted when you wake up, you might need a little more deep sleep. On the other hand, a lot of our dreaming actually happens closer to morning. So if you decide to sleep in on the weekends, but then you get up early in the week and it's all over the place, again, you could be cutting out that dream sleep. Dream sleep is what helps you feel mentally restored. So those days where you're feeling really sharp, focused, you're creative, that probably means you have enough REM sleep. And the days that you're feeling foggy, not creative, unfocused, good chance you didn't spend enough time dreaming. So beyond that, if you've gotten enough sleep and you're consistent with your sleep time so you get the quality sleep, I'm going to give you a couple hacks and then a couple podcast episodes that you can jump into if you really want to optimize the amount of deep and REM sleep you're getting. So number 1, skip the alcohol. It specifically impacts dream sleep. Even if you tell yourself like, hey, it helps me fall asleep, I get it, and it might, but it actually doesn't help you fall asleep. It actually just sedates the frontal lobe of your brain. And then when you wake up, you actually, in the middle of the night, you usually will find that your sleep is lighter and more disrupted. And that's why it disrupts the dream sleep on the last half of the night. Caffeine is something you're going to want to look at, especially if you're caffeine sensitive. Like I recommend, whether we think are caffeine sensitive or not, I usually wrap up all caffeine by 10 a.m. or 12 p.m. at the latest, because what it actually does is it blocks a receptor in the brain that helps us feel sleepy, right? That's why caffeine keeps us wide awake. So what I'd actually recommend is making sure that your caffeine is cut off by 10 or noon. Do a test run for a week. And I know there are some people that will say, hey, I can really sleep well on caffeine. I would challenge you still to try pulling it back to 10 a.m. or noon at the latest for a couple weeks and just see how your sleep quality improves. Because even if you may fall asleep, it doesn't mean you're getting the quality of sleep. And lastly, one of the really big ones that'll help with sleep quality is making sure you're turning off your screens and your devices at least 60 minutes before bed. And that has a lot to do with the blue light that is affecting your melatonin. So I did a whole podcast episode. It was episode 11. It was called Biohacking the Hormone of Darkness. It's all about melatonin and the things you can do to help improve your melatonin production, which is really going to help your sleep quality. Other episodes you might be interested in. Episode 3, get more done with less overwhelm in your business with high quality sleep. That's going to be all about REM and deep sleep. Episode 4 is 8 CEO night routine biohacks. So this is all about that wind down routine, which is going to really help your quality of sleep. And lastly, biohack your CEO sleep sanctuary. That's episode 15. It's going to be great because it's all about what you can do to your bedroom to help you really enhance the quality of your sleep. Rounding up on problem number 5. Okay. If it's too dark in the morning, you're going to have trouble getting out of bed. Now, in the summer, like when I'm recording this right now, it's getting light out at like 4:30. So this is definitely working to our advantage and helping us get out of bed. But I know up in Canada, it's dark most of the year, especially like when we get anywhere into late September all the way through about April. Now, why does this make it so hard to get out of bed in the morning? We have this hormone that we just talked about called melatonin, right? And what it does is it really helps foster sleep. Now, one of the things that cues melatonin to increase in the body is darkness. So when we get up in the morning and it's dark, our melatonin stays high, and so we stay tired. Our body's like, it's still dark out. What are you doing up? We should go back to sleep, right? So what is the solution? It's really simple. We have to expose our eyes to bright light as soon as we can in the morning. Now, this is going to be really easy. If it's the summer, you literally just get outside for 10 to 15 minutes, expose your eyes to the daylight, even on a rainy or cloudy day, because we're looking at getting a minimum of 1,000 lux. That's the light intensity in your eyeballs. So if you're like, how the heck do you measure 1,000 lux? Like, what even is that? What I want you to do is you can download an app called, I think the one that I have for my Android phone is called Lux Meter. Anyways, if you could just look up like light meter or lux meter, and then what I would do is I'd go outside, point my phone sensor, my camera at the sky, and you can see how bright it is. And you want to be exposing your eyes to that 1,000 or greater, usually within an hour of waking up, because what it does is it actually turns melatonin off, right? And this helps you feel more alert and boosts your focus, which is how you want to feel in the morning, right? So the other thing you can do when you wake up, open all your blinds, flip on all the bright lights in your house. Now, I do want to say that, like, if you're waking up when it's dark out, like in the winter, you might not be able to get outside right away. So there are things you can do. You can invest in like light boxes that will help with this. And I was actually listening to a really good podcast called the Huberman Lab Podcast. It is very sciencey. It is by a neuroscientist named Andrew Huberman. And he talks all about this idea of light intensity in the morning. And one of the things he actually recommended is if you struggle with that, and waking up and feeling groggy because you wake up so early, to get one of those art tracing light boxes. You know, I guess they're the kind that you would like put a piece of paper over so you can trace something for artists. Those are the brightness that will help turn off melatonin. I've also read that the ring lights that you use in your business, like the ones that will light you up for video and photos, those are going to be really good for helping you turn off your melatonin as well. So if you can get outside, that's going to be the best, but there are also indoor options that you can use on the darker days of winter. The very last problem of why it might be so hard to get out of the bed in the morning is because you might be waking up at the wrong time. Huh? I know. So this is something that I discovered a couple years ago, and this made a huge, huge difference. So what we're looking at here is, what is your chronotype? So we touched on this earlier in the episode, but your chronotype is essentially how your genetics determine if you are more of a morning person or more of an evening person or more kind of in the middle of the day. So let me explain. There's a couple hormone things we need to know about what's going on. So about 3 to 4 hours before our typical sleep time starts, we start experiencing a rise in melatonin, which helps make us feel sleepy, right? This is a great thing that happens. And then a couple hours before we wake up, we actually get a burst of cortisol. Now, this is also the type of cortisol that is associated with stress, but we need this cortisol to help wake us up in the morning. This is a good burst of cortisol. Now, genetically, we are optimized to have cortisol and melatonin releases at specific times. If you are sleeping at times that don't correspond with how your genetics are set up, you are going to find that you may be feeling really groggy when you wake up. So for example, if you are meant to be an early bird and your chronotype says, okay, we're going to release that cortisol burst to wake you up at 5 in the morning, but you sleep till 6:30, you have missed that cortisol pick-me-up, right? And that's why you're going to feel groggy. That's often why we sleep in late on the weekend. We feel a lot more tired during the day than we do during the week, even if we've had enough sleep, right? And alternatively, if you're meant to sleep in a bit later, but you wake up really early, you might wake up before that cortisol upswing, so you're feeling groggy. So how the heck do you figure out, what's going on? What's my chronotype? So I read a book a while ago called The Power of When by Dr. Michael Bruce, and that book is all about explaining the concept of chronotypes, but he makes it really easy. There is a website he has called thepowerofwhenquiz.com, and on there you can take a quick quiz and it tells you what animal you are, and each animal relates to your chronotype. So like if you are a lion, you are a genetic early bird. If you are a wolf, you're a late night person. If you're a bear, you're in the middle of the day, and so forth. So I actually used to sleep around 10:30 or 11 and wake up around 6:30 or 7. And, I never thought anything of it. But when I took this quiz, I found out that I am one of the 10 to 15% of the population that's actually a lion, which means my chronotype is designed to go to bed by 9 and wake up by 5:30. So when I switched into that chronotype and started following that rhythm, I found it so much easier to wake up in the morning. Now, I understand that not everyone can follow their chronotype because you either have small kids or, you're driving someone to school or you have to be somewhere at a certain time. So if you cannot follow your genetic chronotype, if you go and take the quiz and you find out you're, let's say a wolf and you're supposed to sleep in later, but you have to get up, the next best step is honestly going to be don't give up. Just pick a consistent time, because consistency, regardless of if it fits your chronotype, is still going to make you feel a ton better than being inconsistent. Now, I did do a whole podcast episode on chronotypes, episode 30. It's called the 5 a.m. Club Lie. So if you want to know all about chronotypes, definitely head there. Again, all the podcast links and things I've been talking about are going to show up in the show notes. So jump over there when you're done. Make sure you gather up all your resources so that you can keep your learning going. So we've officially gone through all 6 problems of why it might be so hard to get out of bed in the morning. And if you were able to identify yourself in 1, 2, or even all of them, that means there is wonderful room for growth. And I would honestly suggest just pick one. Pick one, focus on it for a week or 2. Evaluate whether or not it worked for you. Am I feeling better or am I not? If you are, keep it and add another one. If you're not, then just add another one and keep going. It's about experimenting. So remember, the problems were it might be your alarm clock that's causing you to feel groggy and not get out of bed very fresh in the morning. You might not be getting enough sleep. It could be the snooze button. It could be not getting enough physical or mental recovery because your quality of sleep is not good. Or it could be that you're waking up and it's too dark and your melatonin just doesn't get turned off and you're feeling groggy. Or it could just be that you're not following the chronotype that might suit how you feel best. So you have a ton of options there, and I really hope that that serves you well. And like I said, screenshot this episode. Let me know. Tag me on Instagram. Post it to your story. Let me know which one of these hacks you're going to work on first. I'm so excited to cheer you on. Now, if you've loved this episode, in addition to sharing it on your story, because then it can, spread the podcast to other people like you who want to work on our health and, be CEOs in our business that feel vibrant and healthy and feel like, we are taking care of our health. I would love for you to tell a friend about it, or you can pop over to iTunes and please leave me a review. I would love to hear your thoughts, and the reviews, like every podcaster says, they do help the podcast reach more people just like you. And that would mean the world to me if you are getting a ton out of these episodes. So I hope you have an absolutely fantastic week. I hope you get out of bed in the morning feeling energized and well rested and calm, or whatever the feeling is you're aiming for. Have a beautiful week, you guys, and I will talk to you next time. Bye. Hey, if you're hearing me right now, you might be an entrepreneur who feels like this.
Every single thing I had was going into my businesses, and there was no room left for me. And that means I wasn't eating right. My stress levels were just off the charts.
And I was getting these headaches, and I just felt like my health was not where it could be, where it should be.
Every day I woke up really tired, and actually all day long I was tired and I couldn't understand why. And this was really in the way of my productivity.
I gained 20 pounds in 1 year, and that's mostly because of work stress. I've never seemed to have the control over my own health.
This podcast will help you with all of that. I'm sharing everything I know and everything I'm learning about how to get healthy, optimize your focus, and eliminate brain fog for faster business growth. But if you want someone to take all of these strategies, create a simple plan, and help you bring it to life with weekly coaching, I'd love to work with you in my Becoming Limitless program. This is the high-touch intensive program that I have created to coach entrepreneurs like you to get back on track with their health, get really good sleep, and start waking up feeling well-rested.
The biggest impact was really around overall well-being and sleep. So I started tracking my sleep, and it was very data-driven what we did. And I saw measurable progress and improvement week to week, month to month. Now I prioritize sleep. I have my whole family on a better sleep schedule.
You'll get my expert eyes on what you eat and help you develop a simple plan that sticks.
Well, she helped me really figure out what works for me nutrition-wise. It's not just like some cookie cutter plan. It's let's figure out what works best for your body and just optimize everything so I can show up at my best for my family, for my business, and just feel good.
And of course, have you showing up to your business with clear, focused thinking so you can scale your business faster.
Both my companies have grown over the last 2 years.
I'm waking up more energized, and I'm able to be more productive in my business.
You're going to learn how to optimize your brain and your body using a combination of wearable technology, accountability, science-based biohacks, and weekly personalized coaching. I'm not only going to share what to do, but I'm going to teach you how to be consistent and develop the self-discipline that keeps this going for the rest of your life.
Coaching is where the magic really happens, because without coaching, you'll end up right where you started, because those blocks and those underlying patterns that got you here are still there. You have to really rewire the way you think, and that's what Tanessa helps you do. And it's good to have somebody who's got your back, who will hold you accountable, and who will help you work through this process together.
I help you become a human being instead of just a human doing. You get to have your health and a successful business too. It doesn't have to be a choice.
So she really taught me a lot about how to balance being an entrepreneur and a business owner and also not sacrifice my health.
Yep, you can use the gold mine of information in these free episodes of the Becoming Limitless podcast to help you take control of your health, and you will feel more vibrant. But if you want, you can outsource your health to me and put your brain power back on growing your business. If you're ready to commit to upgrading your health and start feeling more energized within the next couple of months, click the link in the show notes and book in a consultation call with me.
My life today is not even recognizable with the life I had a year ago. And that's because of everything that Tanessa has put into the program. So if you're on the fence, get off the fence. Your future self will thank you for it.
Highly suggest working with Tanessa.
I would highly suggest doing a consultation call with her, doing her program, seeing what she's about, and seeing if she's a good fit for you, because she is definitely committed to her clients and she definitely knows what she's talking about.
So go work with Tanessa. She's really amazing, and she's going to help you get your energy back.
Hit the link in the show notes and book in to talk with me about your health, and I'll see you on our first call.